Pronunciation Pro.
Pronunciation Pro.
So thinking about this, I recently attended a conference where the keynote speaker talked about how migration is the human story. So it's normal to move. People are moving as the human population shifts. We're in flux, we're moving. And he added a positive note, which I really appreciated. He basically said that migration drives innovation. So he highlighted multicultural fusions of food and music and dance and movies and language, and how this globalization of culture actually allows us to innovate and to create. And so as you look at the skills that you bring to the communities that you're in here in the United States, I hope that you recognize that you have some really powerful skills as a multicultural, multilingual person. You may not always feel like you fit in the US or in your own country, but that feeling of displacement actually gives you a superpower. It's the superpower of empathy. It's the superpower of understanding multiple cultures. And it's the superpower of being able to adapt and be flexible between those cultures that allows you to innovate wherever you are, to be creative and to be adaptive. And I think those are some real skills that you bring. They're soft skills that you bring that are really vital in our global society, and especially here in the United States. Annie, did you have something you wanted to add?
I believe in that so strongly. And that's a lot of the mindset shifts that we're trying to get at, is that the things that you bring because of this experience, because of this struggle, there's purpose in the struggle. There's purpose in what, that heart-wrenching struggle that you've been through. There is purpose to that because you bring these qualities that cannot be achieved otherwise. Like that empathy, that perspective is so valuable. And when you recognize the value that you bring because of the struggle, because of this, it is a superpower. It is absolutely a superpower. And that's the superpower that our organizations need. These companies need these, our world needs that to solve these problems in new ways.
Yeah.
So I agree.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. I want to just touch on our 3 tools. Tool number 1, belonging begins with you. Oftentimes when we look at belonging, we think, well, I want other people to include me, and then I'll feel belonging or I'll feel accepted. And there is some truth to that, but I want to flip the script. I want you to think about within your circle, how can you create belonging? And I believe that belonging begins with you, and it starts inside of you. Belonging is a choice. It's a decision to accept your strengths, your struggles, and your successes. And I know that you've talked about growth mindset in this community, and I think that a growth mindset is a key to developing this sense of belonging, this internal sense of belonging. And I think that self-confidence leads to growth, and growth leads to self-confidence. In English, we talk about the chicken or the egg, and we ask which one comes first, right? Is it the chicken or the egg? And I think the same is true for growth and self-confidence, right? Does confidence come first and then you grow, or do you grow and then you build self-confidence? In my mind, they go together, they're connected, and it's a cycle. And so the question is, how do we begin this cycle? How do we continue this cycle? And there are a couple of steps. One is we take risks, which you're doing every day. We try new things, we make mistakes, and then we try again. And growth comes from taking risks, making mistakes, trying again, and learning from our mistakes. And when we recognize how far we've come and how much we've learned and how much we've grown, our confidence grows. So I think it's a process, it's a cycle, and we go through it again and again and again. There's an English word that I love. It's iterative. If you don't know what it means, you could look it up, but I think it means this process of going through a cycle again and again, and each time we get better. Each process we improve. And language learning is an iterative process. We do it again and again and again, and each time we learn, we grow.
Yes.
You want to add anything to that, Annie?
In my program, Yeah, in my program, we use the image of either a spring or a
Mm.
staircase. What do you call it?
Like a
What's that?
spiral staircase?
Spiral. There we go.
Yes.
Spiral staircase where it's just over and over and over again, but with each revolution, you're getting higher and higher.
Yes. And
Mm-hmm.
I think shifting your mindset and thinking of growth in that ways, it takes a lot of practice. It's not our default mode. It's not
Mm-mm.
normal to make a mistake and say, "Wow, I'm getting better. I'm aspiring. I'm growing." Right? That's not our default
No.
mode. And so one of the keys that I know you've worked on a lot is self-talk and positive self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
That internal dialogue that you're having with yourself is a really important step to this process of growth mindset, and we're going to explore that a little bit more in the masterclass and talk about positive self talk. I want to give you one key to reframing your accent. And I know you spend a lot of time talking about accents in your Pronunciation Pro courses. This is something that I feel is important for language learners. And I'm going to try to help you see if you can shift your mindset a little bit today. So you're working hard, you're improving your accent. Your accent is not a reflection or a measure of your intelligence. Let me say that again. Your accent is not a reflection of your intelligence. You are an intelligent, bright, capable human being, and your accent is not a reflection of your intelligence. We make a lot of assumptions about people based on their accents. And I'm guessing you probably experienced some of that difficulty here in the United States. But I want to flip it, and I want you to think about in your own country, when you meet people who maybe come from a small town outside of a big city and you hear them speak, do you make assumptions about that person? When you're in your home country and you meet someone who's from the north or the south or the east or the west and you hear their accent, do you make assumptions? Do you have thoughts about that person based on their accent? The question is, are our assumptions accurate? Most of the time, they're not. Most of the time, we judge people on their accents, and our judgments are not accurate. And it can also be really painful to us and to other people when we make those assumptions. This is something that we're going to talk a little bit more about in the masterclass, but what I want you to remember today is that you can't change the way that other people see you or treat you, but you can change the way you see and treat other people. And that starts by recognizing some of our biases, some of our assumptions that we make about people based on something as small as an accent. So I hope that that is helpful to you as you think about your own accent, and then recognize how you recognize other people's accents and what we think about each other based on our accents. And most of the time, it's not true. It's not a reflection of who we are or our intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Annie, did you want to add to that?
Well, that's awesome because that's exactly the work that needs to be done is how can we recognize that those assumptions are being made, that we're making those assumptions. I mean, it's very human, to make
Yes,
those
yes,
assumptions.
yes.
And so we are also, I find that a lot of my students, we're judging ourselves based on the way that we're judging other
Mm,
people, right? And so
yes,
that we can change the judgment that we're giving ourselves
yes,
as we are changing the way that we judge others and the way that we see this ourselves. So it's an internal job, and I love that so much. And it's so tied to belonging,
absolutely.
because that internal work is the belonging. So I'm so excited about this master class and for us to really dive into these ways how we can really shift and change this, because the main thing that I'm hearing from my students is that when they speak and someone says, "Oh, where are you from?" They immediately
Mm,
catch the accent, and
mm,
then it's that, "Oh, where are you from?" The internalization of that is, I don't belong. They see that I'm not one of them and I don't belong. And so it's really tapping on a wound inside of them of like, this is a struggle for me, that I don't belong here, and they know that I don't belong, and they're drawing
mm.
attention to it. But what we're doing is shifting that mindset of like, let's heal the inside so that when someone says, oh, where are you from? We internalize it more of, oh, they want to get to know me. They want to connect with me. They want me to belong, like they want to belong with me and they want to know who I am. And so there's this internal work that you say, like, it doesn't come quick, but there is a strategy to start shifting and changing that so that we can change the internal dialogue and be able to develop that feeling of belonging internally.
That's powerful. That's really powerful internal work. And you touched on a lot of complex ideas that intersect with language learning and with accents. And I really appreciate that you're doing that work with your clients and with the members here in this community, because it's such important work. And I agree, belonging begins with you. It begins with me, and it begins with the work that we do internally.
Pronunciation Pro.